Hey everybody, welcome back inside the stash. We had a hobby show here over the weekend. It was the Three Rivers Auto Modeler show. I did not enter anything as I have not built anything since the award-winning McLaren. Toot toot. No, just I had nothing to enter in the sense that obviously the McLaren's already gone and won, so there was nothing to take. I did a little bit of shopping, which I'm going to show you, and we got one little piece of international mail, and really it's the only thing that's in the mail right now. And then we also got a updated to the gravity situation. So let's start with that up front. We have talked a great deal with Matt Mayer, the guy that owns Gravity USA. Uh, Probably spent 3, 5, 10 hours talking to him over the last couple of 3 days. Probably more like 3 or 4, but legitimately 3 or 4. There couldn't be a nicer guy on the face of the planet, as far as I'm concerned, at least from talking to him online. I know from talking just in general today about a few things online. Folks that are going to the NNL South Nationals, the Acme show. Right now, he is supposed to be going up there. So everybody will be able to meet him in person. Hopefully, he'll be able to sell a bunch of stuff and be able to take a couple of days of vacation. He has a newborn baby and probably needs to spend a little more time with that than dealing with all of us ordering paint off of him. Recovered from Hurricane Irma, at least enough to be back in full swing of business. When we last left you, we had the hanging issue of the paint and communications. We certainly have got the communications thing covered. Um, and we got the paint thing covered. So uh, I guess the one thing I wanted to cover real quick is that over this past weekend, there has been a split of Gravity itself. There was a European component based out of Spain, and there's Matt, who is down in Florida here in the United States. Um, they didn't, like, the two streams shan't cross in the sense of their sales. Like, if you went to Gravity Europe, you couldn't ship to the United States, and if you were in Europe and you tried to buy off of Matt, you couldn't ship back to Europe. That was the way they sort of split things up and kept everything separate so that nobody was poaching on anybody's anything. It has come to everyone's attention at this point because none of this is talking out of school. The guy who runs the what is now Gravity hyphen Colors, because Matt owns the rights to the Gravity Colors website and all of the designs and the product labeling and everything else. The guy that owns the European component of this situation was found to be supplementing commercial grade automotive paint. Basically, 1-1 paint with 1-1 paint metal flake and everything else that was not the correct formulations for the shades of the colors and things like that because it was cheaper. And eventually the guy sent the paint out to enough people that the wrong people, in the sense of complaining, got a hold of it. And this is one of those cases where, if you watch our stash report video, I talked about complaining a lot. This is a sense where complaining was very, very, very justified, as a 1-1 scale metal flake on a 1/24th, 1/25th scale model makes the model look like a bass boat. Uh, Basically, the paint is cheaper. Obviously, it's commercial grade automotive paint from some Spanish distributor. And he was selling this cheap paint at the Gravity Colors markup and pocketing the difference because it was cheap. Gravity Colors here in the United States and supposedly in Europe, but not, is at least especially in the metallics, is custom mixed by BASF to include the super, super extra fine aluminum particles to scale the flake down to 1/24 scale. This tends to require the paint to be remanufactured in the product formulation, because when you take the large scale metal flake out of it, the 1/1 paint, it loses a little bit of its luster and its depth, if you will. So all of that paint has to be custom mixed. That's why Gravity Colors metallics cost what they do. But then again, superior product has a superior price tag to it. The European division, if you will, would not allow Matt to uh, add a bunch of colors that he wanted to add and had been requested to add by U.S. customers. Um, Matt has also received a number of vendor inquiries for people who want to carry Gravity in hobby shops or online vending, uh, distributing it outside of Europe and the United States and, say, Japan and things like that. And all of that was not being allowed, basically, by half of the partnership. Um, all of this came to a head over a shipment of paint that went outside of Europe into into the next door Eastern European countries. The guy complained, and Matt happened to catch the complaint on one of the company's social media outlets, and ended up sending the guy some correct paint, if you will, to fix the screw up. And then made contact with his European counterpart and said, "Look, I basically saved our reputation, and you know you're welcome." Effectively. And his response was to lock Matt out of the Facebook page for Gravity Colors. I know this starts to sound a little bit kindergarten drama, but it's what happened. Uh, and there's no denying it from the European side of things. So I take this to be gospel truth. And there have been rumblings for a while, but this was sort of the straw that broke the camel's back. And Matt basically told him, "Well, if you're going to lock me out of the Facebook page that I worked very hard on to get 6,000 likes and interact with our customers, everything like that, then you can host your own website on your own servers," because Matt was the web designer for the website. He's the one that came up with the Gravity logo and all of these nifty labels that are on the lids, all of this. All of the Gravity logos itself and how this is all packaged is all of Matt's design. And he proceeded to give the guy access to the web servers. "Here, take the stuff you need for Gravity Europe and get it off my servers. I'm not going to host it anymore." The ensuing result was the guy in Europe doesn't know how to run a website, couldn't get the site functioning, and has now basically taken to libeling Matt over on several social media platforms and an email list that Matt has hijacked the US website and that Matt is selling fake paint. The irony of this situation is the guy who's selling fake paint is accusing the guy selling the real paint of selling fake paint. I know, follow me there. Remember, Spanish guy not using the right paint, not using real paint, and using real car paint, not the BSF stuff, is accusing the guy who's selling you the good quality paint of stealing a website that he designed. Go look at the Whois data for Gravity Colors. You'll see that Matt is the registered owner, and selling fake icon. Part of the conversation we've had with Matt was the fact that I wanted my money back because all of my paint had turned fake. Just instantaneously, my paint was fake. Obviously, that's a joke, but it's the absurdity of the situation. He posted it on Facebook. He sent out an email this morning that was all about how Matt had stolen everything from him and this, that, and the other thing. So, bottom line, without the drama, what does that mean for U.S. North American customers of Gravity? Actually, it means nothing because the website is existing. Matt is still, thoroughly in business, and it is business as usual for us. If anything, Gravity Colors will now be bigger and more badass than it already was because the sort of boat anchor of the business is no longer involved, and being that Matt owns all of the logos and designs and everything like that, I'm very interested to see what the European guy is going to do because Gravity Colors is a registered incorporated business in the state of Florida. It's a real thing. What did I get from Gravity? Well, as you recall, the last time we talked about Gravity, I was missing a bottle of Marlboro fluorescent red out of my last shipment. So, pushing that showed up. So, this is the red that goes with that white that we got the last time to make the TA64 Celica Rally car. Actually, those decals are now over in Japan at Hobbyland Japan. So that project is getting nearer to being shoved up the food chain, if you will. I also got this, which is the Porsche Sapphire Blue. This is a gorgeous color for the 918, and this stuff settled a little bit because it's been sitting down on its side over the weekend. But this is like I said, a gorgeous color. You can hear that this stuff, in addition to being really good paint, has a ball bearing inside to mix the paint, so you're not sitting there with a stirring stick. But this will be what I paint my non-Weissach version of the 918 with. This will legitimately be 918 paint. Probably something else, because you usually get about two paints out of a bottle of Gravity. Two bodies, I should say. Two paints out of the Gravity. This color, which is going to be on one of my two Hurricanes, is the brown metallic or bronze metallic, however you want to look at it. This is again another gorgeous color. Uh, be something a little bit different from all of the white and yellow and red and orange ones you see around. We also got let's see. This is a two-part paint. If I can get both parts out at the same time. Maybe not. Probably should set these out, but I was doing another video and I didn't want to knock them on the floor. So let's see here. Throw that box out now that there's nothing in it. Yes, these would be the two pieces here. This is Honda NSX or Acura NSX Novo Blue. It is a two-part, basically a mid-coat and a top coat. If I can get them both pointed to the camera at the same time, easier said than done. So there's an A and a B. You paint the A and then the B. So this will be the NSX that we have the interwoven wheels for. As you guys know, that project, we wanted to make that one blue in the first place, so we got that paint. One more dark blue. This is one of the newest colors they have, which is Ferrari Blue Abu Dhabi. This one will be to make one of the FXXKs, specifically the number 27 car. And this is, again, is another incredibly gorgeous color of paint, both in person and the paint that's in this bottle. It'd be interesting to see what else I can paint with it once I get the FXXK out of it. And then I got a couple other things here that I thought were kind of fun. This one is going to be for my Lamborghini Super Veloce, and this is Lamborghini Tiffany Celeste Blue. It's almost like an aqua color. So that's going to be, give your Super Veloce something other than the metallic red that most people are going to be painting that kit. And then I got a couple of Volkswagen colors here, and these ones will be for what they say on the bottle, because I have I have a couple of Beetles and a Carmen Ghia, but this is Volkswagen Arctic Blue. So it's a nice, real pale shade of blue. That'll look great on a Beetle. And then I've got Volkswagen Pacific Blue, which is going to be, much like the bottle indicates here, going to go on my Tamiya Carmen Ghia when I get around to building it. So again, this was all the paint I ordered at one time. It was obviously, like I said, the red is a carryover from that first order that got kind of borked because of the hurricane, and then everything else was on a new separate order that I put in the day that I talked to Mate about the fact, or I keep calling him Mate because that's how he spells his name, Matt. Talked to Matt the day that I said that the paint was missing, so I'm going to ship this paint out to you. Well, hang on, before you ship the paint out, let me put this other order in, and this stuff came within actually 4 days. So. Now I realize that was because I probably had his ear, as it were, because of the missing paint. But I can't complain at all about the service. I can't complain at all about Matt's attitude. He's very, very immersive with his customers. We talked about one of the things I'm going to show you here, and it was all about what colors that I need for it. He'll do custom colors because BASF can make pretty much anything he needs. And is becoming a verbal crutch. I'm getting kind of tired here. And it's one of those situations where this is going to be a very fun to watch Gravity continue to develop as time goes along. Now that it is its own entity, as it were. So, props out to Matt. We highly endorse Gravity Colors. And by the way, I paid for every single bit of this. This is not a paid endorsement. It is a endorsement of the Stash Project's own volition. Can't wait to use some of the paint. And yeah. So there's that. So that moves us on to what we actually purchased other than paint, and that would be from Japan. We got this in today. This is a brand new casting from Scale Model Creators. They're a higher-end resin company out of Japan. Think Hobby Design or Playmos, but Japanese. And that is this trans kit for the Alfa Romeo 124 Spider or Aberth, however you want to pronounce that. This trans kit gets used with the newer, because at this point it's like, what, a year and a half, 2 years old, the new tool Tamiya MX-5. If you know your cars well enough, you know that that Alfa Romeo designed, redesigned the body. Almost none of these body panels are the same as the MX-5 itself, but internally, mechanically, and interior wise, because the interior just was called what I saw today when I was looking for information on it. It's called a classy Mazda. Basically, it's a little upgraded interior, but the interior is pretty much identical. It is a Mazda MX-5 and with a Alfa Romeo designed body to it. So this kit comes with the body, the front and rear fascia, seats, door panels, a new exhaust with a 4-tipped exhaust rather than the 2-tip that I'll keep hesitating because I want to call it a Miata, and it's not a Miata anymore. The 4-tipped exhaust that the MX-5 comes with, as well as wheels, obviously, comes with a fairly nice instruction manual. It's a little, out there if you don't have the parts in front of you as far as call outs and things like that. But you get the general gist of what's going on here. You got there's a new set of front brakes, bigger brakes for the front brakes. You can see the front rear fascias, the interior panels, and things like that. You use the glass and the scuttle panel, the mirrors, and things like that off of the actual kit itself. There's some Alfa Romeo specific decals down here for the gauge cluster. And this is sort of an overview of the pieces. And we'll show you the body real quick because everything else is pretty much, one resin. You've seen one resin thing, you've seen them all. And here's your body. You can definitely see that while there are more creases or body lines, however you want to look at it, character lines, you can definitely see the Miata in this, especially without the front and rear fascia attached. So the MX-5 in this. Just called it a Miata again. The casting on this is exceptionally good. There are no pinholes. There are no short casts or anything else like that. The only, well, it's not even a complaint, but the only thing I would say about this is it's not necessarily as cleaned up as some of its competitor products would be. If you get something from Hobby Design, if you get something from Plamos, and things like that, you would have a more cleaned up parts. The casting itself, like I said, is great. There's no blemishes, no imperfections. A little bit of scribing on the panel lines. They're a little light for my taste, anyway. But overall, I mean, even like your hood has these indentations. On the backside, there are the indentations on the backside. So obviously, you could tell this was converted. It was 3D. A lot of these parts were created in 3D, but they were worked on obviously from the actual kit parts themselves. I keep saying it's starting to annoy me. I'm sorry, guys. But I want to grab out a piece here to show you if I can do this without dumping all of it on the floor. This right here is the rear bumper, rear fascia area. So here's this. Let me put a hand behind it to focus the camera. Maybe. Try to get enough of it out so that the camera will focus on it. It doesn't want to do it because I've got two different depths of hands there. But basically, right here on the corner, if I can do... Normally I do these on the ground so that I'm not worried about what all the noise of the kits behind me. But right here on this edge here, this is not an attachment point for how it attaches to the bumper. This is part of the pour block, or a runner attachment if you want to look at that. The front bumper, the rear bumper, the wheels, and a couple other pieces, bigger pieces. Now the little or small pieces like the seats and the brakes and things like that don't have that, but have the pour blocks still attached. So if you were to order a kit from Hobby Design or from Plamos, Zoom On to a certain extent on some of their stuff, the pour blocks will be cleaned up. They would not be on the casting themselves. It reminds me of Meng. If you remember the Meng, we did a review of the kit and the resin upgrade stuff at the same time. The resin upgrade stuff on the Meng kit was still attached to the pour blocks all together, like it's shipped that way. You had to cut it off and clean it up yourself. That's what that reminds me of. Overall, the casting, fantastic. Kit itself looks very good. Photo etch is very clean. Decals are decent. They don't necessarily have a very completely, totally sharp register that you might expect out of 2017 decals. But overall, I haven't gotten an actual Miata kit, MX-5 kit out to test to see if the chassis fits and stuff like that. but overall the parts look like they're going to fit. It's kind of hard to fit them together with the pour blocks on because of the fact that they kind of interfere with the fit of the front and back bumpers. But overall, they're not warped or anything else like that. So it's a notch below Hobby Design or Playmos, only because Playmos and Hobby Design have spoiled us, and they've some Hobby Design stuff still ships with the pour blocks, like fender over fenders, so that they don't warp and stuff like that. But the bodies are clean. You know, you get what I'm aiming at there. It's good quality resin, very nice resin. It's just a little bit more labor intensive, which I'm not complaining about. Don't get me wrong. It's not a complaint. It's not a knock. It's just a fact to let you know that there is a little bit of filing or grinding, however you want to get those off there. Because I don't think you could really cut them very much closer than they already are without just needing to file them off. That exists in that sense. So we got 4 kits over the weekend. Not a lot to be buying at a hobby show, because obviously there's not really a whole heck of a lot of domestic kits I really want at this point anyway, which is not necessarily a knock on anything. It's just the facts. Got the Revell Mazda RX-7, nominally 2-in-1. You got the Cafe Racer parts to this, the over fenders and things like that. The race intake rather than the stock intake on the rotary. Been like one of these because this goes along with like the 280 ZX Turbo from round 2 and things like that. Another kit I've been wanting to get for a while and just haven't really sat down and made the purchase was this, the 66 Chevy Suburban from Revell. For anybody who doesn't know, really doesn't follow the show all the time and knows everything that I know in the sense of information, this is a retool version of the 65, 66, 64 Chevy pickup truck. New body, new interior pieces, but chassis, drivetrain, all that sort of thing, engine, all belongs to that series of kits. We picked up also our first of 2 McLaren 570S Revell of Germany kits. I would have got them both, but somebody stole the one. I didn't buy it fast enough, basically. But you get the idea of what you're getting here. We have the Playmos wheels and the Playmos photo etch and stuff like that for it. It really doesn't matter how I build them, but one of these will be built as 570S, the other one's the 540C, the base model McLaren 570, as it were. Looks like a nice kit. The rear hatch, I know, doesn't necessarily fit very well, which is why there's a resin replacement in the Playmos stuff. And then last but not least, a kit that I really wanted ever since I heard it was being reissued. And, guys, I'm not really necessarily much of a truck guy. The irony of driving a truck and not buying a lot of trucks. And that is the reissue of the W925 Kenworth Conventional. A historic truck, I guess you would say, in the sense that we haven't seen it since 1989. Nice, always nice box art. You can't fault round 2. They do make some nice box art. And then we have talked about the fact that the 280 ZX Turbo does not have the parts layout on the bottom, but it is back on this kit where you get the parts layout, the decal, a small version of the decal sheet and stuff like that. A couple of metal axles in here for the back axles. There's tubing in here for the standing fifth wheel attachment, the pivot tube as it would be called, which is one of the sort of a hard mount fifth wheel or airline and light line holders. You don't see those anymore on trucks, but back in the day they would have had them. Nowadays on the back of a truck there is a metal bar that bolts to the back, and your air lines come out of the bottom off the chassis, would go up in the air, loop onto a ring, or a couple of rings, depending on how they're set up, to slide on that metal bar back and forth, and that's what keeps your air lines off of your catwalk back here, because technically speaking, it's not DOT legal to have your light cord or your air lines to touch the catwalk back here, because they'll rub through eventually and break. On these older trucks, you would have a pivot stand, which is a big metal stand that just stuck up right out of the middle of the catwalk, and then the light line and your air hoses would come out of the back of the truck, go into that pivot stand, which is, and we're talking about, if this is the baseline, it's a good 2-3 feet tall. It would go up into that up into that stand, hook into that stand, and then go down to your trailer. So that would be a physically manual stand that would be there to keep your light lines and your air line off of your catwalk and keep them from rubbing during turns and things like that. So it was had a certain amount of flexibility, like a CB antenna base, so that it wouldn't snap off in cold weather or things like that. But they did have a tendency to rust at the base where they bolted on. So there's that. And I believe, guys, that is everything we bought. Actually, we had one non-kit purchase. I mean, this is like revolutionarily exciting, right? I got myself some Sterilite drawers here. I was looking at this. Let's see. I'm trying to think of how this displays you. This mess here in the middle here with all these orange wheels and tires. There's a bunch of photo etch right here, a bunch of photo etch things. Really could be put in the kits. I want to get a lot of the stuff off these shelves, put them more at arm's reach, if you will. We have all this, of course, all this gravity paint that in of itself is a little bit too small for just hanging out on the bench. It'll get knocked off. These things are real light because they're plastic bottles. So we're gonna. I like that. I've sort of tested it around and how it's gonna sit and things like that. I didn't put anything in it obviously yet, but I think about getting another one so I either have them stacked on two or maybe one on each side, and declutter the bench a little bit in the sense of the things that I don't use all the time. I don't use panel liner all the time. I don't use the Molotow chrome pens all the time. I don't use microset all the time. Just get some stuff out of the way. Granted, when we get this whole place converted over entirely, hopefully in the next couple of days, I'm going to get one of the pieces of furniture that will eventually be used in the building area, but not as what I'm going to use it for right now, over here to start setting the spray booth and stuff up so we can start using some of this fantastic color. Is I just want a little bit more space. I joke that with the workstation and the desk, it's something like 18 linear feet of space. It won't all be connected. There'll be 5 feet on one side and then the other 14 feet on the other side. Or not 14 feet, the other 11 feet on the other side. But I'm still going to work at a 6-inch square space because that's what all hobbyists do. Everything closes in on you, and you're down to working in a tiny, tiny little spot. It's about whatever the size of the chassis, whatever you're working on, it's about that big. So we shall see. One thing, I'm not going to turn the camera around because it's nothing really to show you, but we did get the wall painted, and we got this wall over here painted. We're going to put a new shelf on over here. All of the stuff behind me here has to be completely gone through and reorganized, so this will all look different eventually, because we're going to move the one shelf that's over here behind me, the one with all the race cars on it. This one's got to go because the wall needs to be water sealed the rest of the way, because it's only sealed from about this line right here, this way. So we're gonna move. This is all getting reorganized as well. There's too much crap on here that doesn't correspond. This paint. Another reason I need some shelves and some drawers. But all this race car stuff's going to get reorganized. There's going to be a little bit of race car stuff on here, but not all you see. And then down here is my Mercedes stuff. And then below it is the Porsche stuff. That's all going to get reorganized because the shelf's going to come off the wall. And like I said, all these shelves back here have to come off the wall. All of this needs to be waterproofed and painted. That is not necessarily, dependent on doing any building or anything else like that. That can all sort of be done in the background. But it's, we're almost there. We just need to clean a few things up so I can fit a desk along the outside edge that you guys never see because it's off camera, to come around back behind the camera to attach to put it behind us and be able to attach the hose out to the vent on that window. So we're on the third and heading home, at least on the temporary construction. More permanent construction, probably gonna have to wait towards Christmas, I think. But I can still build on this surface that I'm on, and then paint over there, and everything will be fine. So that's the plan anyway, because we would like to go to the NNL show, or not NNL show, the IPMS show that they're holding in Cleveland at the first weekend of November. NNL Nationals are October in Toledo, but we're talking about a IPMS show in the first weekend of November in Cleveland. this sort of being our last show of the year, and the only reason I'm going to drive 3 hours to a show would be if I have something finished. So again, need to get the things moved, and now I feel like I'm just blathering because I'm tired and I'm talking to you guys like we're friends and just hanging out. So we'll cut it there, and we'll see you guys on the other side.